Good morning, Gearheads. Welcome to Speed City F1 on SiriusXM. We are very excited to be bringing you the Bahrain Grand Prix today. This is Jon Massengale. I'm joined in the studio in Austin, Texas, by my buddy Jonathan Green. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
Good, man. It's the Desert Rats and the Battle of Bahrain.
I am excited for this. We got Bob Varsha on the line as well. Mr. Varsha joining us from his studio in Atlanta. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. This black eye is just starting to go away. The stitches come out this week, so it's all good. And I'm just glad to have a race in daytime over here in North America.
Yes. My family too. It's like they're like, when are you going to the studio? What is happening? They don't even know anymore because it's all different times of the day. But yes, and and Casey, our producer, I'm sure is glad to not be up in the middle of the night too.
Does he ever sleep? I thought he was a vampire.
He does do radio early morning in Austin, so yes.
Well, there you go.
And we are going to have Chris Medland joining us, and in fact, pretty soon. In fact, he sent us a couple of interviews already. We excited to have those. Well, here we are at the fourth round of 24 races this season, and we've got us a competitive battle for both constructors and drivers. Lots of things going on, so we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the V10 discussion. And I don't know how it only became V10, because in my mind, this is V8s, V10s, V12, whatever you want.
Sustainable fuels.
Sustainable fuels, absolutely, and hybrid still. I'm still a proponent of that, so we're going to talk all about that.
The question is it a discussion amongst Formula One, or is it a discussion amongst the public?
Well, actually, we're going to get into this. But apparently the meeting that took place with the FIA, with all the representatives from all the power unit manufacturers, went very well. Okay. So I'm not saying this is going to happen for sure, or even soon if it does, but the meeting went well. And Chris probably has even more insight to that, so we'll get his take on this. But we had a really very exciting qualifying. I know we touched on our post-qualifying show yesterday a lot, but I definitely want to, now that we've slept on it a little bit, there's been some updates.
I'm glad the Brits slept on it. They were miserable, a pair of them. Hamilton and Norris. You'd think that was the end of the world.
In fact, let's play a clip. Let's start with that, because it was really a sad sack of a story for both of those guys. And Casey, if you've got Lando Norris, let's start with Lando, because I don't know which was worse, honestly, Lando or
about the same,
or Hamilton. But yeah, let's hear from Lando Norris.
I've been slow this whole weekend, to be honest. So nothing too surprising, honestly. I've just been off it. I don't know. I feel like I've just never driven a Formula One car before, so struggling a lot. Don't know why. I need to try and find some answers.
What do you think you can do tomorrow? You're always stronger in races.
Yeah, I think we have the car's amazing. So I have nothing to complain about. The team are doing an amazing job. Oscar's on pole by a good chunk. So. No, I'm thankful for the team. They're doing an amazing job. Just I'm letting them down. So, no, it's to try and win the race, but I don't think I'll win tomorrow. I think to try and aim for a podium will be the best chance. I think Oscar will lap everyone, so I'll try to get to second, I guess. I think our race pace is so strong. It was strong over the weekend so far, but it's another day. I think the car is in a great position. But it's a track you can overtake. Unlike Japan, it's a track where you can overtake. You can do strategy. There's big undercuts, and 3-4 seconds of a lap of undercuts. So we'll see what we can do.
That's the championship leader.
Right. Holy suicide watch.
Yeah, I know. No kidding.
Therapy.
He's okay. Yeah, exactly. That's what he needs, is some therapy. To be honest, he's true to form. In other words, we've seen this before, and we used last year. We said it was the Achilles heel that he didn't take it to Verstappen because he didn't believe he was good enough to take it to Verstappen. And I've just heard him interviewed just now on ESPN, and he's I slept on it, I'm fine. Blah blah blah. But to say that Piastri's going to lap the whole field. And, I felt like I'd never driven a Formula One car. It's what he does, and I guess it's his own way of. It's very British, and as a British,
you can say that.
I can say it, but it is that tall poppy syndrome where you just you just deplete yourself to the point of no return. I think both in his and Hamilton's case, they believe they should be the number one driver. So when they are beaten by their counterpart, It really irks them.
Well, I said it on Wednesday at Wheel to Wheel. I said that he does not have the killer instinct on the track. But this, you just beat yourself up so bad.
It doesn't help anything.
It doesn't help. We all know that if you say that stuff to yourself enough, it will be true.
I purposely listened to Verstappen's interview and compared it to Lando's. In other words, I wanted to see, because, Verstappen can't be happy with 7th, right? So I purposely played that interview again. And what was interesting, he goes, been struggling with the brakes, been struggling with the tires, we've tried, we've gone up, we've gone down. He said, but I feel we can mix it with them. And suddenly, he does that sportsman positiveness like that you see, which is, I've got a bad lot. Here's where I am, but I think I can do something with that. And that to me is more of an athlete's approach than it is. I don't know. It's a very strange thing to hear somebody like Hamilton and somebody like Norris be so negative.
Well, you know what? Let's hear.
It's remember, Verstappen has come from what? His deepest start was, I think, 14th, and came through and won. I think it was in Brazil a couple of years ago. That's got to be your attitude. All right, throw caution to the wind. Some are hits, some are misses.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go after it. You don't say, well, that's it. I can't drive this car, even though it's a great car and my teammate's doing great things with it. Get in and drive it. That's what you're paid to do.
I don't remember this, but Andy online Andy P says, that's exactly what happened to him, being Lando, the day before Miami, and then he won.
Yeah.
He needs to get that out and then move on. Well, maybe that's just his process, but my gosh.
I'm not being funny. It only needs somebody to wiggle at the turn 1, and he's through.
Yeah. He's got the fastest car, right?
Right.
And especially here, we're seeing that they manage the tires well. Tire deg is going to be big here.
I'd have thrown him a bone if he'd have just said, look, I'm only 1 point ahead in the championship, and I'm intending to keep that as close as possible by the end of Bahrain.
All right. Well, let's hear the other Brit, Jonathan, that you remember. But let's hear from Lewis Hamilton.
The positive, our car clearly is a lot better than what I'm delivering with it, and Charles did a great job with it today. So big apologies to the team for not doing the job.
What do you think you can rescue tomorrow?
I don't know. I really no idea.
To be fair, if anybody suffered the Mansell years, or even the Brundle and Blundell years, they've always had a sort of, I don't know, just a kind of like, woe is me.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, Lando is starting 6th and Hamilton's starting 9th today. And Jonathan, we did have some news after we went off the air yesterday from Mercedes. Because
yes, of course. Yeah, they came out of their pit too early. You're supposed to wait.
Right.
And so they've been penalized. You heard
both one spot.
Yeah, I think Hulkenberg was on the radio quickly when they basically came out to go out of the pits before they were allowed to. Yeah. So they were lined up. Right. Both of them were penalized. You go ahead.
You can't leave your garage until officials announce when the session will restart.
Right.
They usually leave a few minutes before restart. Then you can go pull out and go to the end of the pit lane, but you can't do it before then.
Yeah, it's not like they were on track, early, but they were at the end of the pit lane. They're sitting there waiting, trying to be first in line, obviously.
Well, that actually puts Leclerc onto the front row. Okay.
Yep.
And means that's the best qualifying for Ferrari. And I was just looking at the stats. They are currently 76 points adrift of McLaren, and their best result in a Grand Prix, forget the sprint in China, is 4th. So it's not been an auspicious start to the series. I mean, Leclerc's down in 6th place in the championship. Hamilton's 8th. You could start to see that Hamilton's beginning to realize that this is not a championship winning year so far. He needs to be further up the board.
And this is interesting because Ferrari brought the most upgrades to this weekend. They brought some updates. They brought
a new floor,
Yeah, new floor package, but in changes to the fence, to the floor body, the floor edge, and the diffuser. So, I mean, after watching qualifying, I feel like Mercedes is going to be faster than Ferrari, but I don't know. I mean, this is still to come.
Well, along those lines, I think if Norris doesn't smoke Hamilton, then there's something seriously wrong with Lando Norris. As we've said, he's got the fastest car. Lewis does not. Lewis is a great racer, but Lando is leading the championship, so he can lay claim to being an elite racer as well. And if he lets his mental attitude prevent him from advancing, God forbid he gets passed by Hamilton in the Ferrari, boy, these are, woe-betide McLaren.
Yeah. I want to put a sort of footnote. I having watched both Norris and Hamilton today, not yesterday, i.e. what we played, I think it's just their demeanors. That's just the way they go racing. And I think we'll see a hard-charging Lando, as we always do. And I think that Hamilton could quite easily create a strategy, race hard, and, get to grips with. He's got the data of Leclerc. So,
exactly.
There's no reason why Hamilton cannot be up there. I had a few people telling me that he hasn't got what it takes anymore. He's getting on a bit, and I refuted it, saying, no, I'm not going to say that yet, because I don't think it's true. I think you've got to get your feet under the table.
All right, well, let's move on. I want to play an interview that Chris Medland did for us just a few minutes ago, because he caught up with the team principal of the Haas F1 team again, Io Komatsu, and I want to play it now because Chris is going to get us some live interviews. And but let's hear now from Haas F1 team manager Io Komatsu.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us again. Pre-race here in Bahrain. Lovely sunny day, but it's going to get dark soon and we're going to go racing. And you're going from further back than in recent races. We'll start with Esteban. What happened with his crash in qualifying, and is his car fine for the race?
Car is fine for the race, and honestly it was such a tiny difference in terms of his throttle pickup. Before I actually spoke to Esteban, I looked at the data. I just could not. There is a difference, but just tiny. But he said to me afterwards that was enough to cause that crash. He said he was too aggressive, so he said that was his error. But honestly, it's a tiny difference. Yeah.
It was a costly one though, sadly. Rebuild, did it take long last night, or was the damage okay? Because it was rear end, wasn't it? In.
Yeah, it's rear end, but we had a whole gearbox with rear suspensions ready to go. So in that sense, yes, it's fine. Car's fine, ready to go. And then, he hasn't made a mistake like that for a long time. Certainly not with us. He was very disappointed in himself. But it happens. It's part of the racing. So it's just a shame that because I believe we had the speed to go into Q3, and then his Q1 was very competitive. But we'll do our best from P14.
Well, based on that, a question I got from the studio actually yesterday during our live post-qualifying show was what happened to Ollie, because we've seen him performing so well recently, and he was out in Q1.
Yeah, sure. Ollie obviously didn't drive in FP1, and then FP2 he had a brake issue, very strange issue actually, so that his FP2 was heavily compromised, and then we got that fixed overnight. So then FP3 was okay, but that's the first time he drove, let's say, should I say normal car, but then he was struggling with front rocking, brake performance, but not the same issue as FP2. He was just struggling on that one. That meant going into Q1, he hadn't actually put the car right on the limit before. So then, of course, here, track temperature drops, track evolution's huge, so the conditions very different. So he struggled to adapt to that. I mean, to be fair, before qualifying, he wanted to do 3 runs in Q1, but I myself was, in hindsight, too overconfident because I know his ability, because I know what he can do. I thought he'd be fine hitting it with 2 runs. In hindsight, I was wrong. We should have given him 3 runs. Had we given him 3 runs, for sure he'd have gone through to Q2, no problem. So that's a tough lesson. It's of course we make a decision as a team, but at the end of the day, I drove that to be 2 runs. So I have to accept that.
Well, very admirable of you to do so. We'll get on to someone else accepting blame in a little bit, but that's the FIA, so everyone can get excited about that. But finally, what do you think is possible today? Because you said the car was quick enough for Q3, and you can overtake round here, can't you?
Sure. But no, it's still difficult. Yeah, you can overtake around here. It's but I don't know. I mean, of course, we do our best and then trying to overtake as many cars as possible. But it's not the same as Shanghai, where everybody was expecting to be 2 stop and we managed to execute 1 stop. That's not going to be the case today. But of course, we never give up, and then we got good pace, and then both Ollie and Esteban's really fired up for that. So we'll see.
A definite 2 stop today.
That's what I think. Yes.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. So just so that everyone can be surprised if anything else happens. But the final point I wanted to touch on, because it can influence a lot in terms of qualifying positions, was we saw Nico Hulkenberg's Q1 lap only get deleted after the end of Q2. And now it did relegate him behind Esteban on the grid. So you've made up a place there. But Williams are very unhappy because it stopped Alex Albon progressing from Q1 to Q2. What feedback have you had from the FIA, or have you ever had any, about how they handle these track limit situations? And just what are your thoughts on track limits being missed, I guess, when they can be so costly like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not right. You know, we've been talking about this track limit for a number of years now. And then, of course, you know, in Alex's case, it happened to us before, where if it doesn't get picked up in time, he just lost a chance to make any further progress, which is right, he should have had. So you cannot unwind it. Right, so I personally don't like all this track limit stuff. I really think the circuit should be designed such that if you are off the track, it significantly penalizes you in terms of a lap time, so you don't have to look at these things afterwards.
Do the FIA listen to you when you give that opinion?
Well, so far no, that's why they're still doing it, I guess. But no, I don't think it's right, and also it's not right for the fans either, you know.
Yeah, very, very frustrating, but fortunately didn't really overly impact you yesterday, so hopefully you go well today. Thank you very much, Ayo.
Thank you, Chris.
Brilliant, thanks.
He's fastly becoming my favourite team principal.
That was the most common sense, ridiculously logical answer I've ever
as only
heard.
a Japanese could, which is you've got A and B, and you can't put C in between them. It's a very, it's so logical.
Right. Yeah, all right, we got to take a quick break, guys. When we come back, Chris Medland's going to join us back after these messages. Okay, let's see what's going on the YouTube. We got lots of folks here. We got Todd Daubers here. Bill Ricker's here. He's here on time. What's going on, Bill? TW's here. Kevin Kelly.
Hey, did you guys see
Carl's
there's
from Pennsylvania. Hey, Carl. Yeah, Bob, what you got?
Did we see what?
There's going to be a tribute lap by Jackie Stewart. So Jackie's going to drive his championship-winning Tyrrell on a tribute lap, and
Nice.
he'll be wearing a helmet that has been signed by all living 20 world champions, including Michael Schumacher,
Wow.
whose wife Corinna apparently held his hand and helped him
Wow.
scratch his initials onto this helmet. So that's I think that's pretty extraordinary.
What's in aid of? I don't mean that to sound flippant, but
Well,
what?
Jackie's fight against dementia, which his wife Helen has, and this is a longtime favorite charity of Sir Jackie. So that should be a pretty cool moment.
Are they going to auction the helmet?
Mm-hmm. I assume so.
Wow.
I did not see that, Bob. That's pretty cool.
If he sticks it in his trophy cabinet.
Yeah.
I thought that was.
Yeah, here's the news
cool
story. Michael
stuff.
Schumacher signs Jackie Stewart's helmet for charity. That's pretty cool.
Very
Amazing, actually, yeah.
So Jackie. What else we got YouTube wise?
Let's see. We go
Guys,
back to YouTube.
give us your opinions. I mean, let's get this conversation rolling.
Yeah,
hey,
come on.
it's a group
Very
of friends.
interactive.
We're all in this together.
I want their opinions on, of course, what FIA stuff that he just talked about,
Yes.
but also the V10s and the V8s
Let's
and
hear
the
it.
whatever.
What are your thoughts?
We want
And
you-
the FIA. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Who should run the FIA? I say David Richards.
I'm in the anybody but MBS court right now.
Okay.
Yeah, his
Tim
heart's
Mayer?
in the right place.
Here we go.
Hi guys, this is Pierre Gasly and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Oracle Cloud Infrastructure can help you cut your cloud bill in half if you act by May 31st. See if you qualify for half off at oracle.com/formula. Oracle.com/formula. All right, welcome back, everybody. We said we're going to have Chris Medland, and he jumped off, and he is recording an interview with Mario Isola, from Pirelli.
You've already got it, John. I've already sent it to
You've
you.
already sent it.
Wow, what a guy.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Pierre Gasly just brought us back, yeah? He's 16th in the championship. He must be loving the fact that he's at the sharp end this weekend.
That's awesome. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, he doesn't have a point though.
No.
Chris.
So this is.
Chris, you want to
Yo.
introduce this from Mario?
Yes, I
hovering around Mario because I think Pirelli have taken a bit of heat, haven't they, the last couple of races when they've been a bit processional, not a lot of overtaking, tyres have held up for one-stop strategies. But this is not the sort of place where you normally get that. So I think Pirelli are in for a better bit of PR today.
Jon Massengale, thank you for joining us on the grid. This is a race where people talk tyres a lot, a very rough track surface. What are we going to see strategically today, do you think?
Yeah, the roughest of the year, but also it's a stop-and-go track where it's all about traction, it's all about keeping the rear tyre alive, and all the three compounds are working well. The temperature is slightly lower than the other 2 days, and this is helping degradation. Teams decided to save a different number of tires. Some drivers have 2 sets of medium, only Verstappen is with 2 sets of hard, and for the rest, 1 hard, 1 medium, so they will have to play also with the soft if it is a two-stop strategy. Two-stop, many different combinations are possible. Probably some of them are starting on the soft, others on the medium, and then it depends on the combination. If you start on the medium, you move to the hard, you are able to extend the stint. One stop is possible, but on paper is lower. So it's really difficult to predict, and I believe they have to react to changing conditions during the race.
Now, a lot of fans were surprised that we didn't see a two-stop and we saw an easy one-stop or one-stop in Suzuka, same in China actually. But is that a case of those are tough places to overtake? Here, with overtaking possibilities, do you think that's less likely?
Yeah, overtaking possibility, and don't forget that tarmac is completely different compared to Shanghai, where it was new and very smooth. And in Suzuka as well, we had the Sector 1 that was helping the tyre to extend the stint and control degradation.
Okay, so McLaren, no big advantage on tyre wear, do you think?
I don't think so. Honestly, qualifying and the race are different, and it is not granted that McLaren has an advantage in tyre management. They are a bit harder on the front tyre compared to the rear. This could help in this track because it's all about the rear traction. So we will see.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Mario.
Yeah, interesting. He said that. The roughest of the year on tyres. I mean, a combination of asphalt and sand, because let's not. It is sandpaper. It's what it feels like. You've all felt sandpaper.
Yeah.
So you don't really need much of an imagination to see how hard it would be on the tyres. Interestingly enough, I just looked at the strategy guide. No one used the medium last year at all.
Huh. Okay.
It was hard, soft.
It's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
And so pit stops will be critical. And as you heard Lando Norris say, the undercut is powerful.
Here. Yeah.
You can use it pretty freely. He said 3 or 4 seconds. That sounds like a lot to me, but if you've got A1 pit stops like McLaren, like Red Bull, although I recall Red Bull botched a pit stop for Max Verstappen, and that led to the Lando Norris Verstappen, 2 cars trying to go into one spot, leaving the pit lane, which came off badly for Lando. But this is going to be an interesting race from a strategy perspective.
I know. I want to get into a bunch more about what we're going to expect to see today, but I definitely want to talk about this V10s. They keep calling it discussion, and I said before the break that it doesn't have to be V10s. And in my opinion, in my desire, I don't care if it's V8s, V10s, V12s, V16s, but I would want a higher cylinder count, because to me V6 just sounds like my family car, your minivan running down the street.
To be honest, it's an acoustic thing. No question in my mind. It doesn't
but
matter.
It's more than that.
Well, I know it is.
Oh yeah.
But for me is what I'm saying.
Yes, it's
for me,
a big part of it.
It's why I don't like Formula E, and it's why I don't like the current modern sound of Formula One, having been trackside for V10s.
All right. Well, I'll set it up. I'll tell you what I think it should be, and I'll tell you why, and then y'all can argue and call me crazy. But I think it should be V8s, because I think V10s are more complex, more expensive, right? So we're trying to keep the costs down. That's one of the big things. We're trying to be sustainable fuel. So V8s without a turbo, because we want the sound. Turbos muffle the sound, right?
Yes.
So V8s, because it's road relevant, it's going to make Cadillac and Ford really happy. But it's going to satisfy the people who want more cylinder counts, right? And the sounds sound good.
What's the What's the difference between a V8 and a V10?
Because I think it'll be
respect?
less expensive. I think it'll be less.
Okay.
It's less complex. It's less. Now I could be wrong. If it's just as as easy to build a V10 or a V12 that it is a V8 from their standpoint. Hey, the more cylinder count, the higher, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you this.
But let me finish this. So because it's the cost, it'll keep the cost down. It'll make it road relevant. There's still plenty of V8s out on the road from lots of manufacturers, but also, it'll give us the sound because you don't have the turbo. But if you keep the hybrid side, because all the manufacturers want to keep the hybrid side, that'll keep it road relevant again. I mean, look at everything from Corvettes to Ferraris, McLarens, hybrid V8s and multi-cylinder like that, very common. But it'll also, right now, you could keep it tiny. You could keep it 1.6 liters for all I care. But if you keep the multi-cylinder, like I keep saying, that gives me the sound and the mechanical part that I want. And also, it's not the same engine as the minivan, right? But so that's my thought, is that hybrid V8 running without a turbo and running on sustainable fuels.
Okay, what I don't understand is why has this suddenly come up a year before? I mean, less than a year before. We're going to instigate.
Maybe Chris has an insight on that.
Oh, I can answer that one before I have to jump on to do TV stuff again. This is because, if you remember, back in February, we had the launch event for the season at the O2 Arena in London. And during that, the FIA logo appeared and the FIA got booed by the fans. And Mohammed Ben Sulayem didn't like it that the fans were so unhappy with the FIA. Now, this discussion had come up, and from the BBC's Andrew Benson, who's a very good reporter on Formula One, he'd learned it was in a Formula One commission meeting. Bernie Eccleston had phoned up Christian Horner while the meeting was going on, and Horner answered the call and put it on loudspeaker on the table and said, "What do you want to say to the meeting? You're live on loudspeaker." And Bernie just said, "You should go back to V10s," and hung up. And that's all that was said about it. But the way that everyone was like, "Oh, they'd be cool, wouldn't they? That would be a big win with fans, but never mind." Then the FIA potentially looking for a bit of a win with fans. Ben Sulayem just tweeted it, I believe. I think it was a social media post. It was nothing official. It was just like he just kind of said, "We're exploring this," out of nowhere. And of course, fan reaction was positive, so everyone got very excited.
Interesting.
That's so funny.
We can't forget, too, there's another factor in this, and that is, actually two factors. One are the manufacturers, as you pointed out, John. Are they going to be willing to go back to non-turbocharged V8 engines with the hybrid? I'm not sure there is a production car in the world that does that right now, but whatever.
Yeah, there is.
But the other thing is,
Corvette.
Let's not worry about that. If you say that a hybrid V8.
Yep, hybrid V8, no turbo, Corvette.
All right, great. Glad to hear it. Here's the other thing, though. Mark Hughes, who is also a good reporter, said that the rumors are that among the engine makers, one is advancing well. Didn't say who, but they're making great progress toward the 2026 regulations as they stand. One manufacturer is doing very poorly. They're lost. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Mercedes is the one out front. Red Bull is the one lagging behind. And the rest are somewhere in between. But there's a serious chance that nobody is really going to be ready with these new engines next season. So there's that to consider.
Surely shouldn't we as a sport, and I say we, shouldn't this be a meeting between Honda, Mercedes, Ferrari, and whatever? The team principals.
It was.
Okay.
In fact, Casey's going to throw up a graphic right now because the meeting was, let me look at this graphic before Casey even gets it up there, but it was apparently a really, really good meeting. In other words, somebody said it kind of rare in Formula One, but inside the meeting, there was CEO of Audi, COO of Sauber, Frederick Vasseur, the team principal of Ferrari, Mark Rushbrook, the global director for Ford Performance, Mark Royce from the president of General Motors, Russ O'Blends, the CEO of GM Performance Power Units, Watanabe from Honda.
Watanabe,
sorry. Kakuta, Chief Engineering from Honda.
Then I'm happy.
Mercedes, Total Wolff, Christian Horner, Matteo Binotto. So it was, and they said it was a really good meeting. And Andy on YouTube again said something that I was thinking right before I said it, Andy, is that the fact that here I am saying I'm not a fan of MBS, and this is his idea, and I gave him credit a few shows ago. I was like, hey, I see him banging this drum again, and I love the idea, but I don't see why this would be so hard. especially if it's easier for less cylinders, make it a V8. Make it a V8, and the hybrid can do everything that a turbo does, right? A turbo gives us rocket acceleration out of a corner because you have instant acceleration. That's what the turbos do now. The hybrid unit and the way they use it now. So all of this can be done with a hybrid V8. It's simpler. It's road relevant. In fact, there's probably more than a Corvette, Bob. I just can't think of one off the top of my head. But I just think that's the answer. And I'm sure that, let's see if the folks on YouTube are arguing.
Well, the website The Race has been banging this drum for a few years now. They've had T-shirts out with "Bring back V10s."
Yeah, and look,
people
everybody
are nostalgic.
And look, and by the way, I want higher RPMs too. We haven't even talked about that because that's what people loved. This was the shriek of 18,000 RPM V8s and V10s because that sounds amazing. Now, Chris and I talked on Wheel to Wheel. He's jumped off to do a recording, but is that the sound is so...
Oh, it's so distinctive.
It's so distinctive, but it's also crazy loud, and there is some benefit to not having that craziness loud at the racetrack. I mean, let's face it, there is some benefit to that. So there is that, but I can see the skepticism. But look, I would be. Oh, there's Sir Jackie Stewart on TV. Yeah, go ahead, Bob. What's that?
Can you have it ready by next year?
None of them will have it ready. They've already decided they are not going to have it ready for next year. That's right.
And they don't want to spend the money to change horses in the middle of the stream here. And it's the manufacturers that pay for this stuff.
Yeah.
For developing these engines. I see your point. I love what the people say about V10s, but having a road relevant roaring car, I don't think is necessarily good in wider society. I live in a big city. I hear lunatics racing from stoplight to stoplight all the time in the middle of the night. I don't necessarily want that on my streets. And I don't know if you can just limit it to the racetrack.
Where's my get off my lawn meme that I need to put up right now? No, Bob, I live in the middle of a big city here in Austin too, and I agree with that. All right, guys, we got to sneak a break in. Listening to Speed City, back after these messages. All right, let's see what everybody says here about this. Andy P says alternative fuels.
They want Bob to appear on the podcast at Bring Back V10s.
Oh, there you go.
Derek McCord does.
I'd be glad to.
Yeah.
Just limit it to the racetrack. I'm all for it.
Yeah. I love it, Andy. Isn't this envious trying to do something popular? Yes. Reports out of Ford and Audi have not been great, but the main thing that came out yesterday was a way to ensure engine parity, a token system for development or a mechanism for those behind. Interesting. Okay.
I also want to do away with the rules about power units swapping. And when, in other words, if it goes pop, okay, it goes pop, and you've put it to the limit, and you got to work out how not to do that, or you can't run it as high. Ooh. And so therefore, I've never liked this rule whereby you're only allowed, I can't remember what it is, but you're only allowed so many power units per season before you start getting penalized.
Yeah.
And I just never liked that rule because
when's the last time we saw an engine failure? How often? I mean,
right.
It's just so rare. What I was excited about is when we move to the new system next year, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be what they've already decided, which is roughly 50-50 V6 turbo, less complex hybrid system. Without the MGU, I believe, the MGUK.
Sustainable fuels?
But with sustainable fuels. But the point I'm making is that we might see some engine failures next year, which will, spice it up a little.
It's going to be a 50-50 engine hybrid split in terms of
power,
propulsive power production.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
in case y'all can't tell, this is my favorite part of it.
Yeah, we've noticed the excitement level go up.
Yes,
across the table.
Well, it's the part that I'm the most knowledgeable about too.
A limited number of engines. That was why the rule was in place, because they wanted the engines made more stout.
Yeah.
An engine that will last, an engine that will not blow up.
Right.
Hello to everyone, this is Gunther Steiner, this is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
There is a growing expense eating into your company's profits. It's your cloud computing bill. You may have gotten a deal to start, but now the spend is sky high and increasing every year. What if you could cut your cloud bill in half and improve performance at the same time? Well, if you act by May 31st, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure can help you do just that. OCI is the next generation cloud designed for every workload, where you can run any application, including any AI projects, faster and more securely for less. In fact, Oracle has a special promotion where you can cut your cloud bill in half when you switch to OCI. The savings are real. On average, OCI costs 50% less for your compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Join Modal, Skydance, Animation, and today's innovative AI tech companies who've upgraded to OCI and saved. Offer only for new U.S. customers with a minimum financial commitment. See if you qualify for half off at oracle.com/formula. That's oracle.com/formula. Jonathan, you've been watching the TV. What's happening?
Martin Brundle's trying to take his V8 around the grid, talking to various people that he doesn't know. And, usual stuff. But no, nothing really. Just it's early days. It's 20 minutes till the race, or just over. So it's the usual procession of celebrities and people who want to look important.
Well, Casey hasn't gotten us set up to watch F1 TV because we're watching ESPN. So we're not seeing where Chris is. We need F1 TV in here. So when Chris is not lit up on Zoom.
We can't afford Chris Medland. We'll see him.
It is a maelstrom down there, as usual.
As always, yes. We'll see him.
All right, so we got to talk about what we are going to expect to see today. I'm so excited because, like we said, we've got Tyre Degg, we've got passing opportunities.
Tyre Degg? What number's he?
Yeah. And we've got we've got the people out of position. We got Lando, we got Hamilton coming through.
Yep.
So what are you most excited about, Jonathan?
To be honest, this is going to sound odd, but I'm excited about Piastri going flag to flag. And I know that sounds like the most boring race possible. But when
I know why you say that.
Right,
yeah.
Because when you look at the Drivers' Championship, it's just there's just 1 point between Lando and Max at the moment, and Oscar's on 49, so he's got some work to do, and it would really put him amongst Max and Lando going into the next round in Jeddah.
Bob, what about you?
Well, I'd certainly like to see the championship tightened up again. I mean, those disqualifications for Ferrari really threw a wrench into things. I'd like to see a Ferrari come back in this race. I'd like to see Leclerc and particularly Hamilton getting up there toward the front. And I want to see these rookies do better. I mean, we've seen what Kimi Antonelli and Isaac Hadjar can do. And now we're seeing this weekend, suddenly Jack Doohan has come alive. He's qualified well above his seasonal average. And now, maybe the shackles come off. The bad luck is gone. He can actually demonstrate what he can do in the race car for an Alpine team that seems to be improving. So I'm looking forward to that.
Bob, you want to go ahead and do your Varsha grid for us? And while we got Chris off the mic, I'm sure that as soon as you start this, he'll jump on. But let's go ahead and why don't you run through the grid for us today?
It's like my own rain dance. Yeah, okay, here we go. Starting up front, row one, Oscar Piastri of McLaren, his second career Grand Prix pole and second in a row, putting aside that one sprint pole he's got. Like last week in Japan, the McLarens dominated practice and only to fall short in qualifying when Max Verstappen took pole. But here in Bahrain, Piastri sealed the deal, becoming the only driver to crack 1 minute 30 seconds on his lap. Starting next to him, Charles Leclerc in the first of the Ferraris. He's been wearing a face longer than Seabiscuit all weekend because he felt the latest updates Ferrari brought weren't working. Teammate Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, thought that...
Keep going, Bob. That's just Chris's mic, unless he's got somebody. But
yeah. Okay. Well, Hamilton thought the car was better, so naturally Leclerc gave the car its best grid position of the season, with Hamilton ninth. Leclerc then moved up one spot due to a pit lane penalty to the Mercedes works cars. And now he says the updates work. Row two, P3, George Russell in the Mercedes. Once again, the team leader never looked more menacing than in qualifying and briefly held provisional pole until Piastri nicked him by a tenth and a half. Both Mercedes were then bumped one grid spot for leaving the garage too early after a red flag, as we talked about earlier. P4, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. A year ago, the Frenchman was 20th on the Bahrain grid. Today, he's 4th, and teammate Jack Doohan is 11th. Gasly, who was 3rd quick in Q2 in qualifying, said it best: "We needed this because Alpine is the only team without a point this season." Row 3, P5, Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes. The 18-year-old rookie phenom also had a share of provisional pole in Q3 before falling back to 4th and later was penalized 1 spot to 5th. P6, Lando Norris in the McLaren, 4/10 slower than teammate Piastri. All the championship leader could say was, "I was just slow, and I feel like I've never driven a Formula One car before." I have 2 words: buck up. Row 4, P7, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. It's hard even for a 4-time and defending world champion, the improbable winner from pole at last weekend's Japanese Grand Prix, to lap quickly without effective brakes, which is what Max beefed about all during qualifying. And he never got so much as a sniff at pole. P8, Carlos Sainz in the Williams. Best qualifying effort so far in the Spaniard's 4-race Williams tenure, inspiring team principal Giles to say, "I'm getting more out of him than I paid for." And it comes on his World Rally Champion father's 63rd birthday. Happy birthday, Cowboy Carlos. Row 5, P9, Lewis Hamilton in the first.
I am going to do the typical move of interrupting your grid walk, but I've got Zach Brown here at the very front of the grid by Oscar Piastri. And Zach, you've got one car that's right to the front. You've got one car that has got to fight through. How do you play it today?
Go fast. I think Oscar's obviously in a great starting spot. Lando's a lot faster than he qualified. You can race around here. You got 3 DRS zones. So we'll see how strategy plays out. I'm sure it'll be a 2-stop race. See if safety cars come into play, but we should be good.
Lando puts a lot of pressure on himself and is very hard on himself. What's your response to that?
Too much, unnecessary, because he's an awesome driver. He's leading the world championship. But, athletes get angry with themselves when they know they underperformed, and they all do it in different ways. None of them are happy. He just vocalizes it, but that's a little bit of a way for him to get it off his chest. So all good.
Is a little bit of it due to the fact that Oscar's putting the pressure on though too?
No, I don't think so. I think he knows he could have been on the front row here, so he's just upset with himself that he missed the front row. I think it's less meaningful as to who's where.
It's a very important race for you guys, though, with your ownership, isn't it? You want to win 2 here.
We've never won here before, so never had a pole here. We changed that last night, but today's the day. Tonight's the night. Points are paid.
Well, good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's why you don't worry about.
Sorry, Bob.
That's why you don't worry about Norris, because that is the attitude that you'd expect.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Bob.
You can do this, kid. Just go out and do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Picking up on row 5, P9, Lewis Hamilton of the 2nd Ferrari. After touting those Ferrari updates to his car, the 7-time champ went out and produced his worst qualifying performance of the season, oddly enough, matching his grid spot here a year ago in the Mercedes. So anyway, he apologized to the team for not doing the job and promised to do all his talking on the track today. Now that, compared to what Lando had to say, was, black and white. And I don't mean it that way. Okay, P10 is Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull, the 3rd top 10 qualifier for the Japanese driver, and his first since taking over the 2nd seat at Red Bull. Now he just needs to start scoring consistent points. Row 6, P11, Jack Doohan in the Alpine. The rookie produced by far his best qualifying drive of the season, well above his seasonal average of 17th. Whatever Alpine found to make their car better, it works for both of their drivers. P12, Isaac Hadjar for Racing Bulls, coming off his first points in his rookie season last week in Japan. Hadjar has a shot at going back-to-back. Row 7, P13, Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. On the radio after his Q2 effort, Alonso congratulated the team for getting the maximum out of the season, and a lot of people recalled his sarcasm from the bad old days of McLaren when he called his engine a Honda F2 mill. But moving on, P14, Esteban Ocon in the Haas. A promising run in Q1 went south the start of Q2 when the Haas ended up in the wall after taking too much curb. Another big rebuild for the American team. But as you heard Ayo Komatsu say, they're ready to go. Row 8, P15, Alex Albon and the Williams. Lots of work to do if the Thai driver is going to keep his streak of early season points finishes unbroken. He was gypped out of a place in Q2 thanks to an error by officials and also out-qualified by teammate Sainz for the first time this season. P16, Nico Hulkenberg in the Sauber. Call him the innocent villain. The powers that be missed a 4-off moment for the German as he bumped Albon out of Q1. By the time they realized their error, Q2 had already started, so they placed the Sauber behind the Williams on the grid after deleting his times, though it still meant Albon was unable to continue. Row 9, P17, Liam Lawson for Racing Bulls. Now, if this kid offers to trade luck with you, run away. After losing his Red Bull seat after just 2 races and finishing 17th in the third, a balky DRS device left him near the back here. P18, Gabriel Bortoleto in the Sauber. The rookie is qualified 15th, 19th, 17th, and finished DNF 1 lap down and 19th in the first 3 races. It's clear Sauber could use some Alpine-style magic. Row 10, Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. If a double world champion like Fernando Alonso can't find a handle on the Aston, it's hard to blame Stroll, whose father Lawrence has poured hundreds of millions of dollars into building the car. P20, caboose on the field, Oliver Behrman in the Haas, an uncharacteristically off performance for the British rookie, who has 2 point-scoring finishes from the first 3 races. He'll need luck and skill to make it 3 out of 4. And there you have it.
All right. It sounds like we're going to go straight out to Chris Medland, who's got Christian Horner. Chris, go ahead, buddy.
I hopefully have. He's just having a quick chat with one of the Red Bull engineers, and then I'm going to tap him on the shoulder and say, Christian, if I can do a very quick one. Very strange to be chatting to you as he chats to Herbie Blash here as well. Herbie, good to see you on the grid. Just wanted to ask, we're not used to seeing you back here, Christian. What's gone wrong this weekend so far? Because Max hasn't sounded happy with this car.
Well, look, we struggled to get a balance in the heat, and then we had a brake issue yesterday, and neither drivers have been completely happy with the balance they've had throughout the weekend so far. So, and then combined with a brake problem as well, it was a pretty scrappy qualifier. I thought Yuki did well to get through into Q3, so progress from him. But for Max, he just wasn't happy at all. So we got permission to change the brakes overnight, and hopefully he can have a decent run in the race.
Without that brake issue, then, where do you think you can get to? Does it make him much more competitive, or are you still kind of where you would have been?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I mean, for sure, when it's so tight in certain areas, another couple of tenths, you move a couple of rows. So let's see.
And he's got Lando alongside him. Is that the main target today? Can you disrupt his race?
Well, that's the biggest surprise to me, seeing him alongside us. So, let's see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, very
excellent.
Yeah, great job, Chris. That's a very relevant interview here. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're actually going to hear from Yuki Tsunoda. Back after these messages. So what's happening, Chris?
So sorry about that weird intro to that interview, but Herbie Blass came to say hello to Horner just as I started asking my question. So, I almost threw a question to him, but I didn't know actually what I'd ask him other than how are you? So I had to ignore him slightly.
Well, no worries. No problem. Let's see. Let me check on YouTube, see what's going on.
I was trying to get an interview with Ollie Oakes, and he declined it. He stayed on the pit wall the whole time pre-race. So it was lined up, but as in they said to try and get him on the grid, and he never actually went on the grid. So,
Sneaky.
Yeah, I can paraphrase an interview with Flavio Briatore that we just did on F1 TV, though, if that helps.
It's helicopter.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It was his birthday, I think, yesterday, or maybe it's today. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I saw that, but I thought just this weekend is all I saw. So
I'll Google it. We're in a break.
Who are we talking about?
Flavio. What did he have to say?
He basically said that Jack did a decent job, but Pierre did a very good one. And that he's going to have they did it for his birthday, and he's going to have a birthday every race weekend now to try and make them do it again.
It's yesterday.
There you go.
The hardest part of that.
Same as Carlos Senior then.
The hardest part of that was Googling it, was trying to spell it all right. But Google helped me out.
I think the pressure is slowly easing on Doohan. It's round 4. They were talking about before Australia replacing him.
We'll hear from him too. We got time for a couple of interviews. So we'll hear from Jack.
Is anybody else having as much fun listening to Davide Valsecchi?
Oh
who's
no!
on F1 TV with Laura Winter.
It does my head in.
Hilarious.
It is hilarious because
I like it.
Yeah, but it's almost like a caricature because he's always been that way, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a little much first thing in the morning.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. We got about 10 minutes before the race, and I want to start with an interview, post-qualifying interview with Yuki Tsunoda. Let's hear from Yuki.
Yeah, final lap was a bit mystery, to be honest. Just didn't feel much grip. I had a quite big mistake in turn 10, but I think I still take it overall going through Q3. I think considering our performance today wasn't the easiest car probably. You know, if you see Max, qualified P7, which is a bit unusual. So, I might take it at being Q3, but obviously as a driver you always want more.
You must take a lot of confidence in the fact that you had to do it on your second run in both Q1 and Q2. You were so close to Max throughout the whole qualifying, and it's been a difficult weekend up until that point as well for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the very massive roller coaster throughout the week. It's so much up and down. Yeah, I mean, if you just see results in pre-practices, I was nowhere, and I think considering that was good recovery. And I'm still just trying to find performance to be in the consistent window, be in the window that this car operates, which is quite narrow, and just I'm struggling to consistently be on that. But I mean, I'm not rushing, to be honest. It's just still second race. This is still my sixth session probably, yeah, I think it was good progress so far. I just keep doing what I'm doing.
Good on Yuki. I love the fact that
I would love to
Sorry
see
to
him
interrupt
beat.
you guys.
Go ahead.
But something Yuki said there was about how the car is in a tough window. Well, a car that looks like it's in a good window is the Mercedes. And I've got Valtteri Bottas here. Valtteri, one place grid position penalty for each driver, but second and fourth originally in qualifying. Just how pleased were the team yesterday with that job?
I think that, as a team, everyone was pleased. It was a solid result to be at least in front of one McLaren. George had a good lap. Kimi in the end also got it together. We are hopeful for today. I think it's going to be no doubt tough to battle at least Piastri, but to be the best of the rest, I think that's a good target.
Now, obviously, George is the more experienced of the two race drivers. You're more experienced than both of them. But how much have you been helping Kimi in particular get up to speed? Because he's been really impressive the way he started this year.
Yeah, he's been solid. A rookie straight into a big team is a lot of pressure, but he's been dealing with it well. And I've been trying to help when I can. Actually, here he's been quite independent because he's done the testing here and he was quite comfortable already from practice one. But especially on the new tracks, I can definitely share a tip or two.
Well, just before I get kicked out of the pit lane, you're going to be in the garage, I imagine, listening to this race. Do you get involved with strategy and feedback, or are you just watching?
Mainly watching, but we have our own channel that we discuss many different things. So you never know. I might have some input here and there.
See you on the grid again next year?
That's the target, mate.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Hey, Chris, you do a wonderful job with your interviews. Your work ethic is amazing, but can I offer some constructive criticism?
Ooh.
Oh, damn. Yes, you can.
There was no mention of the mullet. When you're talking to Valtteri Bottas, I mean, it's pretty much everything they talk about in their social media videos with
But it's easy to imagine it.
Yes, true. That is true.
Do you know what? What stood out to me more was how perfectly crafted his mustache was. It was sensational.
There you go.
Have you got the calendar?
No, I have not.
The bare bottom calendar? Yes. Did y'all see the one?
He probably does more commercials than anybody else on the grid.
The video that they put out yesterday, I think, where he was explaining how the DRS works, and he goes in the flap, and they show him looking through the flap. It's just, and then he runs down the grid with flapping his mullet, like that's how he's demonstrating how the flap works. But anyway, you must look up the Bottas videos. All right, guys, we got about 5 minutes left, so let's talk about race. Oh wait, I do want to play Jack Doohan. It's very short. I just want to give him his due. I'm super excited for him to do well. So, Casey, if you give me a thumbs up, if you got that ready. So let's hear from Jack Doohan.
Still on the fringes of the top 10, still strong qualifying, and the car has been incredibly quick today.
Yeah, exactly. I think
well, we were P5 or P6 in Q1 and P5 for the most of Q2, and we're in a good window, and it just shows you you just miss the ballpark that little bit and you're out. I think maybe I just asked a bit much on the tire on the warm-up lap, and just missed the peak, missed the window, and wasn't in the happy place that I was in the previous laps. We're in our best starting position, well, I am, of my season, very close to the points, so we'll be doing our best to try and get some.
Good on you, Jack. Hope he has a good weekend. Hey, Chris, I asked Jonathan and Bob earlier this question, but we're excited because, look, we've got tire deg, we got multiple pit stops, we got people out of place, we got passing opportunities. We're excited. What's got you fired up for today?
The chance to see Lando Norris have to fight in the best car to the front, because it's something that he's sometimes not done a great job of last year when he was out of position under the pressure of that battle with Max Verstappen, but rarely did he have a car with the advantage it has today. And the fact he's starting alongside Max, so Max can disrupt him. It's why I put that question in the Horner. I just think that dynamic's great. Yeah. I think Lando's going to be more aggressive and have kind of more of a determination that he needs to get forward compared to maybe in the past. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays that out. Also, Jack Doohan, like you just mentioned, I think I'd love to see him pick up a point. I think Alpine certainly deserve to get some points on the board, and they are the last team to do so. So I think that might well happen as well. But yeah, there's a lot of drivers that are slightly out of position. Part of my chat with Eo Komatsu earlier, when we finished it, just off mic, he was saying that he was taking that full responsibility of what went wrong with Ollie Behrman and the number of runs. He was saying that's how tight it is. That if we'd have got it all right today, we could have been in Q3, and we're out in Q1. That's everywhere. So there's so many drivers that are going to be sat on that grid. I spoke about Liam Lawson on F1 TV just before I jumped back on with you guys. And I'm like, he can be aggressive today. Like, this is a track that will not punish you so much if you get it slightly wrong, but you can get your elbows out. So he can really go for it. And I think that kind of extends to the whole grid, and that's why I'm excited.
What would your strategy be, Chris?
Casey
Finish first.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is not working.
I think it's going to be a two-stop. To be honest, from what we've seen, I think I'd go for a soft tyre start. I'd go aggressive, get some positions.
Russell could do
that.
that.
Early onto the hard tyre. Yeah, and I think I'd go early onto the hard tyre for the middle stint, and then you get a good read on that hard. And if you need to, you go to the medium to the end because they know that tyre well. If not, see how long you extend it. Maybe even go to the soft again. I'd like to see someone, though, go for a soft tyre stint at the end of the race because it will be thrilling to watch them fight through. So if they don't start on the softs, I want to see someone end on the softs.
That's great. Your Wi-Fi dropped for just a second, Chris, but it did one of those where it pauses and then it spits it all out real quick. So we got everything you were saying, I think. All right, we just got
predictions.
It's time for predictions. We just got a couple of minutes. You have something else, Chris, real quick?
I was just going to say that's actually the way I deliver news to you guys now. I just stop to think about it and then fire it out in one go. So I blame the Wi-Fi.
All right, well, fire out your prediction then.
Piastri, Russell, Norris.
Ooh.
There you go.
Okay. I like that. Bob, what do you got?
Piastri, Russell, Leclerc.
Greedy.
I'm going Piastri, Leclerc, Russell.
Okay. All right. I'm going to have to shake it up. Everybody's doing the same thing. I'm going to say that Lando comes from the back to win, followed by Antonelli and Russell.
Oh.
Hope somebody's writing all these down because that crazy prediction that I just did. Okay, Casey's right.
Good man, Case.
Hey, Chris, give us one last eyes and ears because we got about a minute left.
Yeah, we're just getting into that lovely part of the evening when the sun's gone down and it's cooling down a little bit and the floodlights are taking over. And I could tell you, I genuinely think we're going to get a cracker today. We've not had enough of one, have we, in the last two because it's been a bit processional. But this is a far busier paddock than it ever used to be. There's loads of people here in F1 merch as well. We talk about, we go to some of these places that aren't always full of fans, but you can see the growth over the last few years. And they are excited in the grandstands too for it because it's so mixed up at the front. So with so many different cars, 5 teams in the first 6 spots, I think, or 5 in the first 7. It's got to be great. I just hope someone doesn't get it all wrong at turn 1 and ruin their afternoon, because there's something big on offer to someone.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Stay right here for the race. And, of course, come back for our post-race show right after the race. Thanks, Jonathan Green, Bob Varsha, Chris Medland, and all our guests. Thank you. We'll talk to you after the race.